This is our Yamaha base model Waverunner. The base model is also a 3-seater. It is wide enough to support 3 people. It is a good model for towing people also. The downside of this model is it has forward gear only. There is no neutral and reverse. It does make docking a little bit trickier, but if you watch the section with docking, it all makes sense. It's quite easy. The operation of the base model is as follows. You do have to wear the kill switch, the same as our other machines. It's a bracelet that you put on, and you plug it in underneath the kill switch button. Once that is on, you can start the machine by pressing and holding the start button until the motor turns on. To stop the machine, there's a button labeled stop on the left-hand side. You simply have to click it, or you can pull the kill switch off. The base model has forward only, so forward gear, once you start the machine, it will be idling at about 2 to 3 kilometers per hour in forward. To go faster, your throttle is on your right-hand side. You simply squeeze the throttle tighter to go faster, and to slow down, you let the throttle off. They do glide to a stop, so you need to leave yourself lots of space to slow down when coming off the plane. The dash for the base model shows you a few things. You have RPM on your left-hand side, you have speed in the middle, and you have your fuel gauge on the right-hand side. The fuel gauge is digital and it has 8 bars. It goes down 2 bars at a time. It's important to keep an eye on your fuel. When you get down to 2 bars, you should be going back for gas as you're below 1/4 tank. The gas cap for the base model is on the left of the port side of the machine towards the front. The safety equipment in the base model can be found under the front hatch. This model has a paddle, a fire extinguisher, which is fixed at the front, and a safety kit, which contains rope, whistle, flashlight, and bailer. We always provide you with the appropriate number of fitted life jackets for your day on the water. I'm now going to demonstrate a docking with our base model Waverunner. Keep in mind, this model does not have reverse, so I'm going to show you how to stop and start the machine to reduce momentum coming into the dock. You want to completely idle, no hand on the throttle. Point yourself at about a 45-degree angle, and when you're about 20 feet away from the dock, shut the machine off. As you get closer to the dock, you can turn it on briefly just to correct your angle, but you want to mainly keep the machine off. Okay? Then you catch the dock before the machine hits the dock. The most important thing when docking the base is reduce your momentum as much as possible. If you don't get your angle towards the dock perfect, that doesn't matter as much as reducing your speed. Speed is what's going to cause damage in collision with the dock. Okay, each of our Waverunners come with 2 fenders and a mooring line. These are to be used when you're docking and walking away from the machine for a while. They're both kept in the front storage hatch, which can be just lifted this way. Okay. One fender or bumper goes at the front. This is the orientation of the bumper. It goes around the bumper line, up around the gunnel of the machine, and then you have a rope which is to be tied on for safety so it doesn't wiggle loose and float away. Similarly, you have one for the back that goes on the same way. You space them out about 1 meter apart. At the back, there's a handle that you can tie to. Once the fenders are in place, you take the rope and you attach the PWC to the dock. The rope is 15 feet long. It has 1 loop at the end. We take the main section of the rope, put it through the loop to make a bigger loop, go around the handlebar, hold this tight. We then go through 1 ring or 1 cleat on the dock, and then we go back around the back handle. It is important that we pull all the slack out of this rope so just the bumpers or the fenders are touching the dock. Then we tie our knot at the back. This system is effective because it does not allow the machine to do this against the dock, which causes a lot of scratching damage on the paint. We have one of our Waverunners rolled up on its side to show you the intake grate and where the water has to flow through to power this machine. All of the machines are the same, but we're using a deluxe in this example. It's also important to note that we do not want you to roll these up on their sides yourselves. We have a shallow, sandy area that's safe to do this, but in the open water it can be dangerous. So all the water for this machine has to be powered, has to flow through this intake grate. We're on Pigeon Lake right now, and Pigeon does have some weedy areas. So what can happen with Waverunners is if you drive through shallow weedy areas, the weeds can break off and clump up over top of this intake grate. If the water's not able to freely flow through that intake grate, you significantly lose power, and the motor is actually not being cooled by the water that's supposed to be passing through there. How to identify when you have weeds is very easy. The machine loses power to the point where it will not get up and go on plane. Your max speed when you have weeds might be around 10 kilometers an hour versus 80 otherwise, so it's very noticeable. When you have weeds, it's not a big deal to fix it. It's very easy. You shut the machine off, you have the machine upright, and you reach underneath, okay? You pull them out, they'll be clumped on top and they'll be out about this far. You reach underneath, you pull out a few handfuls, and then the machine is clear. Whatever little bit of weeds that are left on there will shoot through the back of it. What's more significant is if you're towing a tube and you drive over the tube rope. The tube rope will be sucked up into the impeller in a second, and it'll suck up about 20 feet of the rope, actually disabling the machine and binding the motor. If that happens, unfortunately, you do have to be towed back to the dock. We have to put it on a trailer and cut out the rope. All of our machines are capable of towing tubes, wakeboards, and skis. If you wish to tow somebody, it's important that you use the correct tow point. There's a cleat underneath the back of the seat of each of our models. It's a steel cleat, and that's where your rope should be attached to, not the plastic handle. Okay. For towing, you must have a driver and a spotter on the machine. Also, you must have enough room for whoever's on the equipment, let's say it's a tube, to get back on the machine. What's important to note is that this means you can only tow one person at a time. Since they're three-seaters, driver, spotter, enough room for who's on the tube to get back on the machine equals 3 people. What's also important when you're towing, as we mentioned in the section with weeds, is to not drive over the tube rope. What happens is basically it sucks into the impeller and it disables the machine. How to avoid that is to, when you're driving, you always keep the machine in forward. If someone falls off the tube or falls off the wakeboard, the driver slows down the speed, does a wide circle, keeping the rope fully extended behind the machine at all times until they intercept the person in the water with the rope. Then they either shut the machine off or just idle while the person positions themselves to go again. It's also the spotter's responsibility to ensure that the rope does not have any slack in it and does not get sucked up underneath the machine. If they notice this is happening, they're the fail-safe to pick the rope up and keep it away from the back of the impeller.